Okay, and this is the last module presenting the IEEE Center for Secure Design, design flaws. Again, these are principles that you need to abide by in your entire system. The last three are always consider the users, understand your attack surface, and to have flexibility for future changes. This is the triad related to security and usability. So within a triangle, there's security, ease of use, and functionality. And what's commonly said is that each one, you can only have some of each one. So if you have more functionality, you may take away ease of use and security. If you focus on ease of use, you may have less functionality and security. And especially the topic right now is if you increase security, then you may decrease functionality and ease of use. Decrease functionality because you're spending extra time on security. Ease of use because your security may adhere to mechanisms that the users will have a harder time with. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. This is a cart that was designed for doctors. And in order to have it be as secure as possible, they had a mechanism on the cart such that if the doctor walked away from the cart, that the system would automatically log out. That was, people thought that was a good idea. Well, it bothered the doctors so much that every time they walked away from their cart, that they learned that if they put a styrofoam cup over the sensor that would detect them walking away, their system wouldn't get logged out anymore. And that's, a case where, the doctors, they don't want their workflow changed. The system made it hard for them, and they found a workaround. And in any of the security mechanisms that you build into your system, you need to be thinking, like, what is this going to do to the users? And if it makes it hard enough for the users, they're going to find a workaround. The next the security principle that we'll be talking about relates to an attack surface. So what is the attack surface of your system? The attack surface are really all of the entry points from the outside into your system and all of the ways to get data out of your system. So it's the entry points and the exit points. So it's the paths that the attacker has available to him or her in order to get into your system or get data out of your system. And we need to manage the attack surface. How do you reduce the attack surface of your system? There's a whole number of things that are on this slide, and the idea is you want to reduce the attack surface as much as possible to protect your system as much as you can. So here on this slide are a number of things: open sockets, pipes, remote procedure calls, services that are run by default, services that run with elevated privileges, dynamic content and web pages, accounts to add people to administrator groups. These are all things that you want to minimize to reduce your attack surface. And again, with adhering to the secure by default principle, you want to have the attack surface as low as possible by default. Only open the ports, only open the sockets that you actually need at a minimum for your system. This is just a chart that shows, risk, security risk. And so what you see here is, in general, when you have good quality code, your risk is lower. Bad quality code, your risk is higher. And I think that you knew that before. But bring into the context of attack surface. So what this is saying is if you have a low attack surface and high quality code, you'll have the lowest security risk. If you have a high attack surface, lots of ports open, lots of sockets open, even if your quality is high, your security risk will be higher. And you want to think about this, in an analogy of a house. Just say you had the Hope Diamond in a house, and that house happened to have 7 sliding glass doors and 20 windows. The attacker who wants to get to that Hope Diamond has lots of openings that they can try to violate, try to exploit in order to get to that Hope Diamond. If instead that Hope Diamond was in a cement vault that had 1 door, now the attacker only has 1 door, and it may be very hard to crack that door. So the house with all the windows and sliding glass doors has a very high attack surface, and the cement vault has only one opening. It has a low attack surface. So the two of them together, code quality and attack surface, work together in order to provide more or less security risk. The last principle that we'll go through is to be flexible. And in a security context, you need to build your system so that that you can make sure that it will be able to be secure in the long run. So you need to make sure that your system is designed for change. In particular, think about, you need to design for security updates. Inevitably, there are going to be security updates. There are going to be vulnerabilities that are reported that need to be fixed. Do you have a mechanism for getting those security updates out to your customer fast? You need to design that into your product. You need to design for the security properties to change over time. They will. So have your system be modular enough to handle changes in security properties, have the security properties and the policies centralized. And then you need to design to isolate to toggle on or toggle off functionality. That goes along with the attack surface. If you can toggle off functionality of your system that a user's not using, then it's not part of the attack surface. So you need to design it in that way to be flexible based upon the real needs of the user. Here's just a funny story that goes along with usability. And I was giving a security presentation to a group of industry practitioners a while ago, and I was talking about, as I did in an earlier module, about designing for your grandmother. And I was saying, you need to make sure that you can design for your grandmother because your grandmother doesn't know to not click on links, for example. And within this context and within the same meeting, the industry representative said, well, maybe your grandmother clicks on those links, but our executives do as well.